What is up, Cincinnati Bengals talk? I'm James Rapien. We are live, and we're live. Full disclosure, not my idea. My idea was probably kick my feet up, hang out, not think about what happened today at Paycor Stadium, where the Bengals got their tails kicked 16-10, and they did get their tails kicked, even though it was only a 6-point game. And my good buddy Andrew Fox Miller says, I have to talk about this game.
Oh, okay. This is about me.
I have to talk about this game. You did. You text me. I have so much. I can't believe Enter the Jungle is Tuesday.
That's right.
And so I said, well, let's go live. And now we're live. Andrew, hi.
Oh, hey, James.
How you doing?
I wore. I know it was. I know it was supposed to be an orange out, but I'm in mourning, so I had to switch my Bengals black here.
We didn't discuss, but I'm wearing black too. It's funny.
Yeah. It's funny when we're not wearing the same thing. It's not funny when we are, because you get very upset and very angry.
Well, yeah, I never want to match you.
Oh, you get so irritated, but that's neither here nor there.
For sure. It's like, it would be like I was going to take some silly shot at the Bengals, but I don't need to kick them while they're down.
Oh my gosh.
Today was awful. We're going to get to a bunch of your comments, questions, things like that. I'm going to talk about BetUS because today's live is powered by BetUS. We'll do that coming up as well. But I think we should start on offense, like tackling on defense. Like, obviously that's a thing. The run defense, we've talked about it all off season, and we can discuss that. What was your biggest issue today, though? Maybe it wasn't on offense. I would start with offense always. 10 times out of 10, always. I think offense. But scrap that. This is about you, Andrew.
It's
the
about me.
Biggest thing that's on your mind, the thing that annoyed you the most about this ugly, ugly loss to the Patriots. What was it?
I mean, aside from the fact that we probably could do this live, but we're really fooling everybody, and this was pre-recorded on insert game in the last however many years, where you're just befuddled. You're so shocked as to what is happening out there, all things considered. And what I mean by all things considered is simply, let's just go offense. Imagine for a moment, never mind contracts, never mind Jamar Chase, and if T. Higgins had been out there. By the way, I don't think that would have changed this much at all. Imagine you have Joe Burrow. Imagine you've paid him to be the franchise quarterback that you know that he is. Imagine putting him out there, and imagine that happening. I'm not even talking about scoreboard. I mean, obviously they lost, but like, what was that? What was that? How is it possible to make that happen? Like, I couldn't even manufacture that if I wanted to. I've played Madden and have been throwing my controller on the ground in just complete disbelief as to how it's possible that the mechanics of the game is allowing, receivers and ball placement and all of it. I couldn't make that happen, even if I tried. I don't know why. Why does this have to happen? Why does it have to happen early in the season? Why does it have to happen at all? Burrow, you could turn on any game right now. You could turn on any of the 4:00 games. You could turn on Sunday Night Football. Do it. And you know what? There are teams out there with an inferior roster, arguably. There are teams out there that certainly don't have the quarterback that the Cincinnati Bengals have. And yet somehow mistakes happen. They might not look as good as they should. You can see right there, like, they're not as good of a team as this is what I would have expected. But like, somehow things just move at somewhat of a normal pace. Interceptions happen, fumbles happen, I get it. But like, how is it that you get Joe Burrow out there and it is the most difficult thing to watch? Talking, of course, about today, it is almost painful. There is no reason to feel pain watching Joe Burrow, arguably fully healthy after a full camp with all of his weapons, sans T. Higgins. Why? Why does that happen? I haven't sat there and watched the tape. I haven't watched people's reactions to this. I've been holding it in. And here we are. So you tell me, James, let's start with offense. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, why does it happen? There's a bunch of reasons.
Of course.
Right? There's a bunch of reasons. And the first of which, I don't know if Joe Burrow is 100% healthy. He stopped short of saying that last week when asked about, this week, whatever you want to say, Wednesday when he talked. Said he was feeling great, best he's felt, all of those things. I don't think the wrist is 100%. And that doesn't mean it isn't physically there 100% from a structural standpoint. It might be. Everything might be in order and strong and all of those things. But then there's like that next step. Like with the ACL, where it's very common where guys like he wore the brace that year, but it's very common where guys are like, yeah, the year after the ACL. Well, right now, I think Joe is still going through rehab, going through things with that wrist to continue this process and the not necessarily the healing process, but the recovery process. And so that's the only thing I can come to right now as to why they didn't push the ball downfield more. Because it sure as hell isn't because the Patriots defense is that good. And they are a good defense. They have a good secondary, but they aren't that good. They aren't so good that it's like, all right, we're not throwing the ball deep to Jamar Chase. And I actually only think there was only 2 true downfield plays today. One was to Andre Yosevach, defensive pass interference. The other one was to Jamar Chase, 28-yard gain, set up the field goal that cut it to 16-10. But honestly, I thought there was a chance that they would be kind of stagnant on offense early in the first 3 straight 3-and-outs. That didn't really surprise me. But what surprised me is everything else. Because the only way you can lose to the Patriots, Andrew, is 3 straight 3-and-outs. Then you have a fumble after a drop in the end zone. You have a fumble that costs you a touchdown. And all Tanner Hudson had to do was just keep running. He gets hit hard, keep running. You're going to get into the end zone or dive, but keep the ball tucked. He gets in. Instead, he holds it out like this. And well, I mean, I'm not going to damage my laptop that I have here, but it's real easy to knock that out. So things like that, mistakes like that, well, they compound. And then when you make a dumb decision with 2:13 left to punt on 4th and 5, well, then you're just conceding. And when they decided to punt, when I saw Ryan Rico walk out there, that's when, and you got to make the decision as a media member when to go downstairs from the press box to the locker room. Do you want to get caught in the crowd? If you wait till after the game, you can easily get caught in the crowd. I didn't. At that 2:13 mark, boom, went. I didn't miss anything on my journey to the locker room, by the way. So that, yeah, there were so many things. There's so many mistakes. I didn't even get to the defense there. That's just offensively. But the lack of downfield throwing, it just felt like they were playing in a box within 7 yards of the line of scrimmage. And that can't be the case. It just can't. Because when you do that, for whatever reason, the reasons why you did it, whatever it is, that limits Joe Burrow, that limits this offense and puts them in a rough spot.
I hear you. And, penalties, Tanner Hudson, all of that. Mistakes happen. Insult to injury, all that. Let's work under the premise that Burrow isn't 100% healthy. Fine. Mm-hmm. He's good enough to get out on the field, we would assume, because he's there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you game plan around deficiencies, limitations? Wouldn't you know that you're going against, maybe you don't know your opponent, you don't have the data set or whatever because you're going into week 1. Everybody's at that disadvantage. Why wouldn't you call a game plan that is designed for the strengths that you have? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you call a game plan designed for what Burrow is capable in this moment of time? We've been through this before. We went through this last season. Mm-hmm. Week 1. But why wouldn't you do that?
By the way, I think he is capable of throwing downfield. That's what's really annoying. Because the ball to Andre looked good. The ball to Jamar made sense. And like he was open, he threw it, got it there. Like there was no issues. So that's what I don't get. I don't know what it is. But we saw some of this, like a lot of what people saw today. And I know there were some that were like, oh, well, he's moving his wrist around. We saw this at camp. We talked about it. People got really annoyed when we did talk about it. It felt like,
oh, they got so uncomfortable. But
like he moves it because he's trying to keep it loose.
Yeah,
that's it. And he's doing all these things to keep it loose. That's what I mean by the recovery part of it. Because I still think he's going through that, and that's fine. But at some point, the offense needs to be able to, and I thought this offense would be able to do it. And I get it. T. Higgins gets hurt. So he gets hurt in practice on Thursday. And I don't think they really knew he was out until Friday morning. And they realized that hamstring's worse than they realized. And so that's a quick turnaround, especially when Jamar it hadn't practiced at all. But still, this is the Patriots. This wasn't like the guys that are playing for the Patriots, that are helping the Patriots win, wouldn't be starting next week in Kansas City. more likely than not. Like a lot of these offensive linemen that they faced, for example, a lot of even Ramondre Stevenson, he's not better than Isaiah Pacheco. Like, so you're going to have to deal with all of that. So to me, I thought they could play poorly and still win. And that's what's annoying going back to the 4th and 5. I can't get that out of my head. Like, why would you decide to give it back to them? And at the same time, you're asking about the offense, and I don't really have a great answer for you. I don't know why it looked like that the whole game. And yeah, they started to move it, but honestly, even when they moved it outside of the touchdown drive, when they got the ground game going some, nothing felt comfortable. Nothing felt like it was working the way they wanted it to. Did it? Outside of the run, that one drive, did you ever feel like they were in sync?
No. And I so it's like here, and I know we actually, I'm gonna flash this up there since I'm gonna preview it or whatever. Luke, yes, the defense is coming up. Trust me, we want to talk about defense, absolutely. While we're on the topic of offense, though, I'm gonna go just
the
a little
offense.
bit out.
Hold on one second. The offense scored 10 points. That's why. A Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase-led offense scored 10 points against a defense that didn't have their 2 best players because they traded one to Atlanta a few weeks ago, and Christian Barmore has a serious medical condition, and he's going to be out this year. That's why, because it's unacceptable. The defense doesn't have a $55 million quarterback, an offensive-minded head coach that has been together for the past 5 years. That's why. The offense should have scored more than 16 points today. The offense is why they lost. There's issues with the defense, no doubt, that we will get to. But the offense is far more concerning. We knew the defense had flaws. What we didn't know is this offense was going to look like it was a 2023 Joe Burrow in Cleveland, not scoring a point in the first half. Ridiculous. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I mean, I feel weird bringing this up, but I do want to bring it up. It's going to take us a little bit away from what we're talking about, and it is related to the offense. It is related to Joe Burrow, but I just want to point this out. I don't know if anyone else commented on it. I tried to pay attention on like social media and things, and I wasn't seeing a lot of real-time discussion of it. James, I know you're oftentimes, of course, watching it from your luxury suite that is reserved for the media, where you get your catered luxury food and all that. Those of us that have to, those of us peasants, like just civilians that are out watching the broadcast or maybe perhaps at the game. But in this case, the broadcast, there was a moment, I don't know, for those of you that were watching, that are here in the chat, if you were watching and you heard them talking about Burrow during the broadcast, like, oh, he's squeezing his wrist a bit. Is something going on with his wrist? And he was wearing a glove earlier. They were very confused. I just want to point out that unless I missed something, those of us that have been paying attention, that's been happening all camp. That's been happening throughout many practices. So it was no news to people that were following the team. But on the broadcast, I felt like they kind of highlighted it as if it was some thing to be aware of or to be concerned about. Again, if you've watched this channel, you heard us talk about it. James even mentioned it. That's what's going on. So
hey, NFL broadcasters, how about you subscribe to Cincinnati Bengals Talk?
Sure.
Whoever's on the call next week, I think it's CBS's #1 team because it's Bengals Chiefs. Tony, you should be subscribed to CBT. You should be. And we do need to get to some comments, Andrew. We do need to get to the defense.
Yes.
We will do all of that in just a second. But today's show.
Do I have to make you full screen for this, or can I react to you doing this read?
You can react if you want.
Oh, okay. That's approved. All right. I'm going to react.
Today's live is brought to you by BetUS. BetUS is sort of like Andrew Fox Miller of the betting game. And what I mean by that is you're a high-end editor and your sarcasm stinks, but the editing skills, BetUS has the betting skills. And right now you're going to get a 150% bonus on your first three, however you want to make three deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's it. Use code YouTube150 at BetUS, and you're going to get a 150% bonus on your first 3 deposits. So maybe you think that the Bengals are going to shock the world next week in Kansas City. I know Andrew really thinks they're going to shock the world in Kansas City and be 1-1 after 2 weeks. Like a lot of people had them. They just flip it, right? Well, you can go to BetUS right now, get odds on every single NFL game. They have the fastest payouts in the industry. So go to BetUS, sign up today, and you're going to get a 150% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. 150. All right, Andrew. What do you
very
got for me?
engaging. Well done. I'm surprised the
Engaging?
comments weren't complimenting you on that read. That was very well done. Very professional.
Yeah. It was something. I really tried to take a shot at you, and that didn't work. I think that was honestly, that was like the Bengals deep ball today.
Oh,
but at least I tried.
Yeah, I was gonna
At
say,
least I
it was
tried.
there. I saw it.
I took the shot.
That was definitely the most time that if we were to compare the analogy, I witnessed more of what you just did than deep ball. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's get to we had a comment here that I wanted to get to. By the way, they did put a lot of pressure on Brissett.
Yeah, I starred that one. I wanted to call that out.
Oh, okay. Is that why you start? Okay. Yeah, we'll get to some of the comments in a second.
No. I mean, that's good. I'm glad you flashed it.
I wanted to get to this one. Because one, thanks for the $2 sandwich, Savant. I'm going to get a sandwich thanks to you. And two,
you got to split that.
An 80-yard punt was that was the best punt I've ever seen. Or like 1 yard away from bouncing out of bounds. Ryan Rico, heck of a day. Longest punt in Bengals history, and just some bombs. Averaged 64.7 yards per punt, I believe. So good. He's definitely a bright spot today.
What else do we have for bright spots by James?
Are we doing other bright spots?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll tie into what we were getting asked about here. Like, so let's say, like, for instance, yeah, I only had to start because we were talking about, it's a bit rusty. Hated the commenters. I don't know that they were trying to stir anything. I don't know, but I just going back to what we were talking about. I'm not sure how aware they were of what was going on. It wasn't really heavily publicized. I mean, like we talked about it here in this channel, but like there was a reason for that because we felt like many people weren't talking about it at that time. And as much as people didn't like it, I just felt like as a fan, as a viewer myself, I brought it up to James like, hey, like I'm interested. Why is nobody talking about it? That's what we did. So here, there you go.
Yeah, totally get it. I think, man, here we go. Tanner Hudson was trying to bring the ball in and not secure it, not reaching out. Watch the replay. Bring the ball in. He had it in. It was tucked initially. He's running with the ball, and then he reaches out. I'm lost there. Am I wrong there, Andrew?
I know what you're saying. I guess the middle ground is, I would like to go back and watch the replay. They did replay it on the broadcast, but regardless, you did it wrong, Tanner.
Don't stretch the ball out with one hand. Like he wasn't bringing the ball in because then it's an incomplete. Like he had possession for a while.
Bad luck happens. Flukes happen. Maybe we could chalk it up that all we want, but I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, doesn't matter. It can't happen. Charlie Jones's fumble, huge. Like that's the problem. That Charlie Jones's fumble cost you 3. Tanner Hudson cost you at least 3, but probably 7.
Yeah. No,
Mike Gesicki cost you 7. Regardless, that's definitely 7 if he holds on to it through the catch. So like, I mean, even if that touchdown happens, I think they're tied, and I think they end up winning the game. And instead, they're down 10-0 at halftime. They haven't scored in the first half. Charlie Jones fumbles after they get a stop. And now that momentum that you could have built early in the second half just never was there, and they never built more momentum. But still, the biggest thing for me is the punt. You can't punt on 4th and 5 with 2:13 left. You can't, unless you have the 2000s Ravens defense. You can't.
Yeah. I can't help but we talked about it a bit, James, you and I, prior to jumping on here, just kind of catching up with one another, talking about what thumbnails we were going to make for videos and whatnot. But I mean, Zach obviously, that's the thing with coaching. That's the thing with anybody that knows their team. Put it in your own personal life. You work for a company. You know the people behind that company, the talent behind that company. Put it in your own family. You know what your family members are capable of that maybe people on the outside don't know. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I guess I could give Zach a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and saying, all right, I know what my defense is capable of, and I'm really going to put them to the test. And I know they can step this up. Maybe. But much like what we saw in this entire game, the eye test, we know what we saw. We know they couldn't stop the run. We know that for some reason, Jacoby Brissett could somehow sacks come. Henderson, it doesn't matter. Someone's coming right in. He cuts, goes left. No one can stop him all of a sudden. We don't have a solution for that one. Left every time. They can't stop him. Yeah. So if eye test, and when I also mean by eye test, you alluded to it earlier. DJ Reader, like we talk about talent that left the team is what I'm trying to say. DJ Reader gone. We going into the Super Bowl season that we had, what was the big narrative? Oh, what are they going to do about that offensive line? What are they going to do about that offensive line? Obviously, it worked out that they got the Super Bowl, but what really cost them? A lot of it was the offensive line. Everybody saw it. It was right there. And what I saw in this game was that we really miss DJ Reader. we do. And so these obvious things that are happening, and Zach Taylor's out there on the field making those game time decisions. And we saw what we had with that defense in this moment in time, and he chose to rely on it. And that was a hell of a bet.
Yeah, look, you're always going to miss Reader, and it makes it worse when you lose Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson, and hopefully Jenkins is back soon. But you're shorthanded there. To me, the thing that bothered me the most about the defense is just the discipline that the Patriots played with that the Bengals defense didn't.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of missed opportunities, but just tackles, just tackling. Right, you can't have double-digit missed tackles. And the Patriots, the reason why we're as annoyed by the Joe Burrow dump-offs and short yardage throws and all of those things is because the Patriots came up and made tackles. Yeah. Jamar Chase had nowhere to go. Andrei Iosivas, you throw it to him behind the line of scrimmage, he's going to run. He's super athletic. He starts running. Nope, 1 yard. Sit down. Jamar Chase screen, his first catch of the game. They're trying to get him involved. Sit down, Jamar. The Patriots they tackled. And you know who didn't tackle? The Bengals defense for large stretches. They had missed tackles, arm tackles, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't play. And that can't be their MO because Michael Jordan, a.k.a. former Bengals guard Michael Jordan, started for the Patriots today. Like that offensive front that they play next week is infinitely better than the front that they play today. So they are going to probably lose a lot of those battles. So when you are in one-on-one situations with a ball carrier, you have to tackle them. And they did not do that today at all. So yeah, Reader, of course, would help. You would love to have DJ Reader. It stinks that he's not here. He's inactive for Detroit this week, but I think he's going to be ready to go in the near future. But regardless, they have to be able to tackle. They have to. Like that's such a simple thing. Like it would be like saying, man, they really need Andrei Iosivas to be able to run a clean curl route. And I thought he played fine today, but it's just such a basic thing. And if you can't do the basic stuff, then you're going to get beat by teams that can. And that was the Patriots offense today. Jacoby Brissett was pressured a lot. It was like, I think PFF had it at like 40%. But you know what he did? He stepped up. He moved. He ran really effectively. The Bengals, they got pressure on him, but then he responded the right way and didn't put the ball in danger. And even when he did, and Geno Stone has a chance to make that interception and has the ball in his hands, it gets ripped away. Like it was that kind of day where even when things appear to be turning around, Mike Gesicki's touchdown, it's this much off. Geno Stone with an interception to keep it a 7-point game. It's this much off. And those little things, they all add up, especially when you start out flatter than an ironing board that they started. They started so damn flat. And it's predictable at this point almost. I was like, man, are they going to come out like Tampa Bay, or are they going to come out and just not be able to move the ball? And it was the latter.
Yeah, I don't, for lack of a better term, we'll call it silver lining, but I feel like that's too strong of a term. There was flashes of that sort of bend, don't break mentality of the defense at times. Wasn't there, don't get me wrong, but I could see like remnants of what we saw last season. But the big thing, I feel like when you kind of are at the level that they were playing today, the big thing that they needed that I was waiting for was those big plays, those disrupting plays, not just pressuring the quarterback, although that can send anything out of control in terms of how the offense is going to operate, and you can take advantage of that. But like, just that critical interception, that, insane fumble that just completely changes the momentum of the game. And it just never felt like it was going to break. It just kept slowly bubbling, and it never really quite took hold. And that was a big, for me, takeaway, like in terms of being a bit disappointed. We could talk about the young defensive backs and wanting to see how they were going to have the, premiere for the regular season and all that. But like, that was big for me.
And what's crazy is all of these things happen. And I'm going to go back to the scenario that I've mentioned, but before the punt. So all of these things happen, right? And then the Bengals, they're able to force a punt on 3rd and 5. They make the tackle on Pop Douglas. And Jacoby Brissett's pass is only good for a 3-yard gain. So it's 4th and 2. By the way, the Patriots should have went for it. They try to draw the Bengals off sides and don't. They punt it to the Bengals. Thank you, Patriots, for pinning us at the 10 is how I would feel if I was Zach Taylor, how I would feel if I was Joe Burrow. I love that. I love that you didn't go for it and control your own destiny and try to play field position. So there's 3:14 left. All of these things have gone wrong. There's 3:14 left and you have the ball on your 10-yard line. You're down 6. You save the entire day with one mindset. Let's go get a touchdown. And that's it. We're going to go score right now, and that's it. And Joe took the blame afterwards. He's like, oh, I was off target here. I missed Jamar on this one. Then I was off target. And then 3rd down, I thought it was this, and it wasn't. And fine. But when you get the ball back, let's just flip it. Let's say next week, the Bengals are up by 6 in Kansas City, and they punt to the Chiefs with 3:14 left. What do you think they're going to do if they face a 4th and 5? You think they're punting it back to Joe Burrow? The answer is no.
Right.
Doesn't matter where the field position is. Doesn't matter about the momentum of the game. Doesn't matter. If it's 4th and 5, you go for it. The mentality on that drive should have been, we have to go score a touchdown right now. All the crap that happened today, it sucked. We're playing like crap. Nothing has gone our way. And all we have to do is go get 6. Go get 6. Let's get the hell out of here. We'll be 1-0 and we'll regroup by watching the film. And it just, when you go out there, you get 5 yards and then you punt it away. To me, you weren't playing to win the game. Shout out Dennis Green. Like, if you're there to win, what do you do on 4th and 5, Andrew? It's pretty damn simple. And I just keep coming back to that. Like, that's how today felt. Like, all of these things where it's like, we could still come back, or they could still come back, or and I'm speaking for the players because I'm sure they thought the whole time, like, yeah, we're in it. Coaches, we're in it. At some point, you got to go take the damn thing, and that was the moment to take it, and they didn't take it, and they got to find that, whatever that is. As much as all these other stuff they have to clean up. 3:14 left, game on the line. You've played that crap all day. You're only down 6. Go get a touchdown. And that's what you would do in Madden. That's what you would do in any simulation ever. That's what I would do at the playground. That's what you should do in any competitive anything. And we're talking about NFL football, and I know there's not a perfect correlation there, but you get the point. Go take it. And they didn't take it.
I had a response to that, and I think it aligns with really even this comment/question. Why Burrow had a chance with 3 timeouts in the 2-minute warning. Yes, that crossed my mind. But I think, to your point, James, maybe I'm adding to your point, or maybe I'm really repeating it, is that in that moment, it's certainly a bit of a dilemma, but you knew what you were getting out of that defense, and to a degree, you knew what you were getting out of the offense. But I think in that moment, right or wrong, the fact remains, Zach had a choice. I'm going to hope that my defense steps up and makes that big play, makes that big stop, makes a statement. Or I'm going to hope that Joe Burrow in this offense is going to make that play, make a statement, change the momentum. He chose the defense. And there was really no evidence to tell me otherwise, that they were really going to be able to do that. Certainly had hope. Maybe something crazy is going to happen here. But I would say the same for Joe, and we've seen it with Joe all the same. So I don't know what the right or wrong choice was. I hear your argument on this, but the fact remains that Zach chose the defense in that scenario. Here we are.
That's what you do when you're happy to be there. That's what the 1999 Cincinnati Bengals should do. Or the 2002 Cincinnati Bengals, where it's like, we're close. We're close. Hey, maybe we'll get the ball back. Maybe we'll get the ball back and have a shot. What do you think the Patriots wanted the Bengals to do there? You think they were... That's why the Patriots do the Bengals a favor by punting on 4th and 2. And do you think the Patriots would be more scared if you went for it with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase or punted it back to them knowing that their offense was running for 4.7 yards per. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer. I don't care where the ball is. You have to score a touchdown regardless. It doesn't matter. If you don't get the 4th down, then you lose. Fine. Punting it back to them basically means you lost. It really does, because you're banking on something really unexpected happening, a fumble, them running into each other because you can't tackle them. Like, there was no way you were getting that stop. And so it really felt like, make me want to go to sleep.
I'm only flashing this up because I made this comment myself when I was watching the game. I was like, I know I'm not going to be able to go back to bed, but I just want to go back to bed. I said that like around halftime. And by the way, I'm going to call out that comment because here you are in a live chat hours after the game because we can't go to bed because this whole thing is disturbing. Yeah. And who knows when that good sleep's going to happen again from this one.
I look at the possessions. It's so crazy. Punt, fumble, turnover on downs, touchdown, field goal, punt. I mean, it's just
what do you and I know we talked about the offense, and I'm not going to sit here and get into individual player performances. A lot of that's going to be reviewed, digested, what have you. But I mean, what's with I mean, like that offensive line, we know what they're capable of. We've said it time and time again this offseason. Perhaps, arguably, maybe confidently, the best line that they've had in the Joe Burrow era. Yet, it felt like they were just collapsing so quickly to where Burrow, he's to blame many times where he's holding the ball way too long. We saw it at times in this game, but
yeah,
I felt like this time it was just flooded around him fast. And I have to think to some degree that's play calling. I think there's ways that you can put Burrow in a better position to get that ball out and get your players downfield and better. I don't know. There were plenty of times too where players weren't open. I'll give him that, but like he should have had more time. He should have had more time, more than he did.
Yeah,
right.
I
just want to go to sleep.
No, I think like the offensive line, I thought they were okay.
Yeah, like I'm not saying they were like garbage. I'm not saying that. It just I was shocked at how quickly, especially early in the game, I was like, whoa. Like,
yeah. Early in the game for sure. They especially with the run. I thought Orlando played really well. Cordell, Ted, Alex got beat a couple times. I think Trent Brown's working himself, and he just didn't play a lot before this, and so I think he'll be even better next week. But yeah, man,
good enough. I agree. I mean, I think
it's one of those things where this game, like we knew they had flaws. Like I wasn't expecting the offensive line to be awesome today. I thought they'd be okay, and I think they're okay. I wasn't expecting Jamar Chase to be awesome today, and he caught every ball that was thrown his way. By the way, 6 for 6.
That's fair.
I didn't think MVP Joe Burrow would be out there. Like all of these things, I didn't think the Bengals were going to be awesome against the run. But even with all of those things, they still should have won. And that's what's so annoying here. No one thinks that the Patriots are a better football team than the Bengals. But they were so sloppy. They were so careless. They made so many mistakes, and then they make bad decisions in weird times. Like even the fourth down, 4th and 2, which you do go for it there every time. You throw to Andre behind the line of scrimmage, like that's just a tough ask. Because if it's like break a tackle or two, you might have needed to break 2. There were 2 guys on him. Just a tough one, a tough play to make, honestly.
And I hate stating the obvious here, and we'll call it optimism. We'll call it, hey, let's look at glass half full here. It is week 1, and it sucks that we're saying this after many, many week 1s that the Bengals come out flat, especially during the Joe Burrow era. I get it. But I'm trying to look at this as practically as I can and say, it's week 1. 3 preseason games for Joe Burrow and starters, 1 for the most part. I get it. But I just feel like there should have been a little bit more moments of like flashes of what we're going to see ahead. Even if you do lose, even if you only score 10 points, give me a little bit more moral victory than what I witnessed today. So things could easily change. Obviously, there's a lot of football ahead of us. and I know we're kind of hitting over the, we're at 35 minutes right now, and I do kind of want to do a little bit of interaction engagement before we wrap things up, if that's good with you, James. I need some. I'm not gonna. Hey, look, I'm not gonna trash certain, like the O-line and Zach Taylor and all that. Same thing I'm not gonna do is trash these comments. What I need, though, is something other than this team's garbage, or how are they going to beat Kansas. That's actually a fair question. How are they going to beat Kansas City? Maybe we'll talk about that. But like, calling out things, fine. I'll flash it up if it enhances what we're saying. But like, legitimately, throw something out there that maybe James could address, or we could just kind of riff on. What are we thinking in this moment? How are we feeling? How are we thinking about next week? Optimism, pessimism. What do you got? Let's see.
Yeah. If you want the game plan to beating Kansas City, I'll give it to you on Enter the Jungle every Tuesday at 8, or this Tuesday at 8 for Kansas City, and then next week it'll be Tuesday at 8 for Washington. Shout out Jaden Daniels, had a nice debut. Anyone who said Joe Mixon should be traded should be banned from talking football.
Frankie Strings, Mixon would not have changed the outcome of this game. I don't. You can have that opinion. That's fine, but
also, Joe Mixon. When's the last time Joe Mixon? What did he run for today? 150 yards.
It was
right?
more than that. I have to look it up.
Okay. Yeah. All right. It was a bad fit. That's why. It was a bad fit. That's it. The Bengals run game was fine today. This idea that Joe Mixon was frustrated with the amount of touches he got here. All right. He wasn't loving the idea of 15 carries a game. I promise you. Like this idea that, oh my God, the Bengals are crazy just letting an elite talent go. He was not an elite talent here. He hadn't been elite since 21. And I don't care what anyone says. Joe, his agent, you, it doesn't matter. Let it go. If Tyler Boyd would have went off today too, it wouldn't have been any different. It's okay to move on. Don't worry about the X. That being said,
you drafted him in fantasy because you knew he's a better fit in Houston.
Push the ball down the field. That's why they lost, not because they didn't have Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon probably doesn't run for the 4.4 that Zach Moss did today. Or no, Zach Moss averaged 4.9 yards a carry.
Right.
He had 9 attempts. Chase Brown had 3 attempts. 12 total attempts. Joe Mixon is much happier in a run-heavy offense. It's just different. It's 2 different systems. I hate that. It's crazy. He doesn't fit. And it was square peg round hole for a while, and they went another way.
I got a few I'm going to throw up here. I'm going to hang on to one I got started a moment here. Do you think coaching changes in order? I think it's much too soon to be answering that question. Much too soon. Unless you have a different opinion than I do, James.
You trying to get me in trouble.
Okay. I mean, like, based off of this game, like, you certainly aren't making coaching change. I'm like, what are we going to do? Like,
I actually, on my next video,
right?
Should they fire? No, I'm not. No, of course not. But I get the comment because it's annoying.
Sure.
Because they should have won the game. That's it. So when you have the better quarterback, you have more talent, you're not a tanking team. Well, why'd you lose the game? A bunch of sloppy mistakes, turnovers, all these things that fall on the coaches. So I get the logic, but obviously it's too soon.
How about
like way too soon, like a season too soon.
You mentioned Dax Hill.
Yeah, he needs to tackle better. By the way, played pretty well today overall. I mean, 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, a sack. Like, there's a lot of good stuff. So if coming out of week 1, we're like, oh man, Dax Hill, the tackler, is the concern. Well, good, because we saw him move to corner. They moved him to corner, and he didn't give up a deep ball, did he? He didn't give up a huge touchdown play. Okay, so I think that's okay. Does he have stuff he needs to clean up? Absolutely. Everybody does on this team after today.
How about?
But yeah, Dax needs to get better in some stuff. But I think from a coverage standpoint, that's what you want to see him keep growing at, and he's growing there. So I'm encouraged by Dax.
In a way, this is an age-old question. I mean, this goes back to Penei Sewell versus Jamar Chase in a strange way.
The Bengals have invested in the trenches,
right,
and they're not going to invest $140 million in the trenches. You think so?
You're asking me?
Ooh. No,
Oh, okay.
I want this person to come in on the stream and tell me how they're going to do that. They're not spending that kind of money in free agency in the trenches. They already have Orlando Brown Jr. Sheldon Rankin. They already are spending $140 million in the trenches. If I added up all those guys, BJ Hill, Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson, like if we're talking trenches, they've invested a lot of money in the trenches. So no. Now the Jamar thing is a distraction, by the way. I said it like 2 months ago on the channel. I don't want this to go into week 1. Joe said he saw Jamar or found out Jamar was playing for sure this morning. That sucks. That's a huge distraction. Just is. It'd be much better if it was done. I don't know. The $140 million was given to him 2 weeks ago.
Speaking of receivers, and I'm actually flashing up because Optimistic John S has made a lot of comments, and this is the first one that actually wasn't the opposite of optimistic. It's a fair question, so I want to give him, I don't know, participation points for actually commenting instead of just yelling at everything he thinks is terrible about the team. Why not try Burton? Burton comments.
Yeah, Burton didn't play a lot, but he would have been inactive if T was healthy. Just to give everyone an idea, he would have been inactive, and at the same time, and I'm going to be very clear here with this because I get it. Like all the Burton, you gotta make sure he's doing all the right things. Okay, fine. But if they go to Kansas City and they're not pushing the ball down the field, they don't have T Higgins and they're not pushing the ball down the field, and Jamar Chase is out there, and this offense looks like it does, and it's a weapons thing. Well, then you put Burton out on the field and you tell him to run go routes. You got to push the ball down the field. I don't care. It's about winning now. And how can you win? And if it's saying, hey kid, go run a go route, and we're gonna throw you 2 a game, fine. But you need that dynamic. And whether it's Andre Yosavash, whether it's T Higgins, Jamar Chase, whatever, you need some downfield threats. You need to loosen up defenses, and you do that. And guess what's gonna happen? The run game will be that much easier. And they got the run going a little bit. It'll be much easier if you could push the ball down the field.
I want to briefly. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think Jermaine is like in line for a big week by any stretch, or a ton of playing time, increase in playing time. But there is a point where I'd be like, all right, well, he's clearly good at this one thing, regardless of all the other stuff. Put him out there. Anyways, go ahead.
If we're going to throw the ball more than 7 yards, yeah, absolutely.
It's like you when you try to play quarterback.
Okay. Anyway, so I'm only
wide
bringing
open
this one up because we
downfield.
never did talk about this on the channel.
Throw it
Honestly,
right into the lineman's helmet.
Okay, you're still going on this. You're still working under whatever you're doing over there. The cleats are right now in the garage. I literally just saw them.
The cleats.
They are.
Yeah.
Can you please rate? So I'm only bringing this up because this was a topic. I feel like it's a bit outdated at this point, but we never did talk about it. It's not like we could, So I thought it was interesting as you and I kind of did riff on it a bit, like one-on-one, off camera, obviously.
Yeah. The
having to cross the street.
You put me in you love putting me in these positions. The Bengals are embarrassed about the street. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. And here's what I'll say. Sometimes people make rules that shouldn't make rules. And when that happens, it can make people look bad. And so the Bengals, they get all the flack for that. Even though I don't think, and I don't believe that was the reason why they had that rule in place. And because that rule was put in place, now that is a topic of, oh man, players crossing the street. In reality, I think the Bengals practice field in setup is one of the best in the NFL. Most of these teams freaking practice in a suburb. All right. I don't want the Bengals practicing and based in Mason. And I love Mason. I have friends that live in Mason. Awesome place.
By the way, Mason, Ohio, not the child of a millennial, because like that. That's all.
Anyways, Mason, Liberty Township, wherever, and it would be somewhere like that. So yeah, they could practice there every day and then go to the stadium for 8 times a year, or they could work out, be at the stadium, practice across the street from the stadium. That seems cooler to me on paper, right? And it is. So I actually like it. Who cares that there's a street in the way? Like I get it looks weird and it's funny. Also, don't the Packers ride bikes into camp?
You were going on for way too long, because I was going to bring that exact point up as somebody that follows the Packers pretty heavily. I was like, are we gonna? I know it's different. It's tradition, but yet all the same, we're celebrating The fact that they're riding bicycles, like, what are we doing? Who cares? Why is like they're stirring things up, and yet we're all clearly people are taking the bait, like
Keith,
all over.
They don't need a sky bridge.
Right.
You don't even need that. I mean, that you could, fine, but you don't even need that because, and honestly, I don't think it's that practical because it would just get in the way of what they're doing stadium wise. And who knows what that looks like in a few years when they work on the indoor practice facility and all of those things, because the indoor practice facility is coming much closer. But the point is, the setup's fine. It really is. And honestly, if everyone's worried about them walking after the way they played today, they should have to do 10 walks back and forth just before practice because it was that embarrassing. And Zach should have to walk with them.
We don't have to get into this, but James already kind of alluded to it.
They didn't ban
Correct.
street videos.
That is correct. That's fair to point out. Yes.
I literally posted a video of T and Jamar walking across the street.
Right.
They didn't ban it.
I don't want to say misreported, but
misunderstood. Based on what I've been told, right? Like maybe that's what it is, and it's all part of their secret plan. I don't think there's that much thought into it. Like I said, sometimes rules are put into place by people that shouldn't necessarily put rules in place, and then it impacts other people. And now people are saying that the Bengals are sensitive about that. Quite frankly, I don't think Mike, Katie, Troy, Elizabeth, Caitlin, I don't think any of them give a damn about the street social media comments. Personally, maybe they do. Zach, I'll throw Zach in there too. Duke, whoever you could say in the front office that you think is offended by it.
Simon Martin, maybe possibly the MVP of the night. Everyone's been very active in the chat, and I love to see it. But man, I like this one because we probably will talk about this. Obviously, on Fridays, oftentimes before a game, James will talk about things that he's watching for, keys to victory, all that. So more to come with that. But let's talk about what we saw in this game, and it doesn't have to be 3, but what are the top things that look?
I'll give you 3. 1, you can't let Isaiah Pacheco run all over. If Isaiah Pacheco is averaging 5 yards a carry, you're not winning, because then Mahomes can do Mahomes stuff, and he's got a running game, and so there's 1. 2, the offense, you gotta have to score. You know how much I would have bet you, Andrew, if you said the Patriots score 16 points that the Bengals won? I would have bet you a lot of money. You might have owned I might not have been able to show up on this live stream right now.
No, we probably would have been doing live streams like 12 hours a day.
I would have done a live stream.
Like
start trying to pay you.
You'd be like, send those super chats, guys.
Please send the super chat so I could pay Andrew because I just wagered all this money and then the Bengals score 10 points. Like that's what's annoying. So like if you're gonna go to KC and win, that first digit on the scoreboard better be a 3. 30.
Right.
You better get the 30 next week. So there's the second thing. The third thing, you're gonna have to win turnover battle. And today it should have been 2-1. The Geno Stone one got close. But if you think about it, like Burrow had a fumble, he was down, but he had a fumble on the first drive. Like the Bengals were just kind of, I don't even want to say reckless with the ball, but the ball popped out. Like the Patriots were getting after him, and you can't have that next week. It's got to be the other way. You got to get after the Chiefs.
Huge turn here. I'm going to make this brief. You don't even have to say a word unless you feel compelled to, James. That is something that I've always been curious about, and maybe I would do some sort of video essay format thing on something like this. I'm not promising it, but like, I'll be honest, like I feel like that's one that we would want to make really engaging and have some really cool B-roll and things to keep things visually moving. It's a tough one to really dedicate to unless you actually have news on it, but there is some interesting things that go on that I feel like most people just aren't aware of.
Well, first thing, nothing's official. I just assume that they'll have an indoor. They're going to get an indoor like practice facility closer, like a permanent one. Right now, they have the temporary one. So that's it. I'm making an assumption, but I assume that will start this decade for sure. All right, this one stood out. Yeah, Tyrone. 1, I appreciate you because you definitely are paying attention if you know that 30 is the magic number, because it is in this day and age. It is. When you talk about these elite quarterbacks, elite teams. And I mean, think about it. If Isaiah Likely gets his toe down, we're talking about 27-27, and the winner is going to get at least 30 in that game between the Chiefs and the Ravens on Thursday night. So What do they need to do? They need to have explosive plays. They need to get explosive plays. Their longest play today was 16 yards on the ground, 28 yards through the air, and that was it. Nothing even remotely close to that. They just did not have explosive plays. That's what they need. And so how do they get there? Obviously, time is always nice, right? Giving Joe as much time as possible. On the ground, I think they did a pretty good job in the second half of giving Zach especially room to run. But you're going to have to push the ball down the field. So whether it's Burrow giving him time, scheming it up, doing whatever, we mentioned Jermaine Burton earlier, whatever, find a way to get the ball downfield and get guys open downfield, guys open in space where they can catch and run and maybe turn an 8-yard play into an explosive play. That needs to happen. And so whatever they need to do that, that is the key because there weren't many explosive plays today. All right, let's take one or two more, Andrew. Well, we said we would do a 30-minute live. We're pushing an hour.
I know. I want to bring this one up because I do think it ties in with some key players on this team, particularly on offense, like Charlie Jones. Some mistakes there. How we feeling about him? But special teams overall. I mean, we talked about Rico and all that, and the amazing, essentially 80-yard punt. But special teams overall, how did we feel beyond some of the things that we've already discussed?
Well, first things first, Rico, awesome, like you said, and I love it. The underrated part of what he did today was the hold on the 51-yard field goal by Evan, and so really nice to see that. Charlie Jones, the fumble sucks, man. I mean, it really hurt. It hurt a chance at momentum. It gave the Patriots a field goal and made it that much harder. But that's not why they lost. So overall, special teams, like, you have some ups and some downs. The punting up, the downs. Well, there should have been one less punt because Ryan Rico shouldn't have punted with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left. But overall, I thought the special teams was okay. I don't think they were great, but if Evan's kicking a 50-plus yard field goal, you're getting awesome punting from the rookie. 2 out of 3 phases. You could obviously you don't want that punt return fumble.
Yeah, and obviously, I guess we want to include McPherson into special teams, of course.
Well, yeah, he's a specialist. What do you mean?
Let me get there. Good Lord. You just talked like 2 minutes. I'm just saying,
What do you mean?
I'm just saying, when we're going to talk special teams, like a bright spot in terms of like, hey, that was reliable. Isn't that refreshing to have something consistent and reliable? I feel like we take that for granted at times, and here we are.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
I'm really trying to make
you really are
positive
trying
out of this.
You know what I think is ridiculous?
There you go, Simon Martin. Exactly.
I'm looking at this box score. Guess who was second on the team in receiving? Don't look.
Yards?
Yes.
Second on the team. Is it going to be something weird? Like, was it like Zach Moss and I wasn't paying attention?
No, Zach Moss had 17 yards, but he's pretty close.
Oh, really? He's close? Wasn't Yosef?
Andre Yosevash.
Was it?
26 yards.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my first guess, but I felt like because of that, I was going to be wrong based on how you're framing this.
3 catches for 26 yards.
Wow.
Gesicki, 18
Fantasy
yards on
darling.
3 catches. Tanner Hudson, 2 catches for 18 yards. Zach Moss, 2 catches for 17 yards. Chase Brown, 3 for 12. Irwin, 1 for 6. Charlie Jones, 1 for 5. That's brutal. All of these guys. So Jamar led the team with a 10.3 yards per catch average. Led the team. What? So that's what I mean by explosive plays, going back to that last question. Like, that is crazy. That is insane. 10 yards a catch. That is a slot receiver. That is what you want from your slot receiver that is not a downfield threat, not Jamar Chase. That is what you were hoping to get probably out of like the Yosevash, Irwin, Jones trio. But just brutal. Just brutal.
Well, Rick, no, you didn't make a mistake by holding on to your Burrow, Chase, and take. Well, by the way, why do you have Burrow? Okay, sports card collector, right? Okay, as someone that has a good friend that is from Massachusetts, I was getting plenty of text messages during that. He almost wasn't going to watch that game. Like, that's how low the expectations were from people that I know amongst that fan base, and he was not a sore winner. He was kind about it, so Appreciate the comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. What do we have to say?
I just checked the BetUS odds. Chiefs open as 6-point favorites.
That's it?
6-point
at home. Like, that's surprising. So even
that's it. What did you think
odds
was
makers
be
are like,
10?
hey, what did we just talk about for the last 55 minutes? You saw that game.
Sure, but like 6 is a lot, man.
What do you
They've
think
never been 6.
What do you think it was going to be
6-point
prior to
underdogs?
that?
Coming into today
in Kansas City.
Coming into today, it would have been 3.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right. So you're saying it a 200% increase, then okay. I guess I can understand that.
Just a lot. Anyways, I appreciate each and every one of you. Andrew is lost, confused, and it's because this stream went long. You were programmed for 30 minutes, and we went 56.
Nothing was programmed, James.
No, I'm saying you were programmed.
I know.
I'm calling you a robot. Andrew Fox Miller.
Yeah, I'm the robot.
The good news is we have a lot coming up this week. A lot on the channel already. Elise, Jesse, and I did a post-game video discussing our instant reaction and thoughts. You can hear from Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and Zach Taylor on this channel. Please hit that subscribe button. There's 540 of you in here right now. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. All 540.
It would blow my mind if half of them weren't subscribed and they subscribed. Like I'd be up all night. We'd do a live at 3 a.m., James.
Hit that subscribe button. We'll do a live at 3 a.m. when I'm waking up for the gym and Andrew is getting his beauty rest. And for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. You're going to have to end this stream, Andrew. Thank you so much for watching Cincinnati Bengals Talk.